How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. So, as you can tell by that intro, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are doing an interesting lure. This has been on my mind for quite a while now to make one of these, and that is the cursed fishing lure. That is right, the banana. I don't know where it got started, where it's bad luck to bring bananas on the boat or like have bananas before you fish, but I'm like, a banana lure would be so cool. And how this is going to work out is I'm going to start by carving this out. There we go. That's the right drawing. So I'm going to carve this out, and how it's going to work is it's going to be a walking bait. So this is going to be the front, this is the back, and then I'm going to weight it in the back, and so when you work the lure, it's going to be a walking bait. So, I have a lot of carving to do. We're just going to hop right into it. Alright, I was going to try to just like cut it out. As you can see right there, I just started to cut, but then I decided it's best just to get it carved out. And I think typically, you know, bananas, they be more curved. But I think this is going to work better for a more straight banana. And I got it's going to be a fairly big lure too. It's going to be wide. And you know, some bananas typically have kind of a square, more square body than round, so I think that's what I'm going to try to replicate as well. I've been super excited about this lure build for such a long time. I can't wait. And we're using good old bass wood today. I think that's going to contribute well to a nice buoyancy. I think it'll be easier to weight, and I think it'll have a good action for the banana. And then for the nose of the bait is upturned, you know how like a banana would be, and this is upturned, so I think when it sets like this, it'll attribute to a nice walking action, and that's the theory at least. Who knows? I've never seen a banana lure. I've seen people paint like stick baits to like bananas, but I don't think anybody has made something quite like I'm gonna make. So now that I got the rough shape of the banana cut out, what I want to do is go ahead and make the lines on the top and carve it. Instead of carving this way, we're going to carve this way, the sides. And I brought a banana to help me reference. Alright. So, it looks like on a banana, this is pretty much flush, and then back here it's a little bit of a hump, and then the stem. And then looking from this way, it narrows down to a point, but like not extreme, like not back here. It's pretty blunt. So I'm gonna transfer. Legit, I only need to like cut off the corners basically. And then it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same throughout here, except towards this point it rounds off a little bit, and then you have the stem, and then there's a little more bulk where the stem attaches to the other bunch. And so right here is kind of where I got the stem started, and so I'm going to make a line right there. And the stem is literally going to be the weakest part of this whole lure. So I want to keep as much material on as I can. And I don't want to remove too much material at the top because I do want that little piece where it does become more. But we're not going to have too big of a stem either, because the longer that you make that stem, the weaker that piece is going to be. Then you risk just breaking it off. Just breaking that piece off on a fish, on a rock, a dock, a pontoon, whatever. So that's kind of what we're going with. Just kind of have a bit of a rough shape here. All right, we're gonna get carving. And then of course, once this is done, I kind of like shaping the final little piece with sandpaper, just getting it all nice and finalized that way. Because you can remove material, you can't add material back on. So it's best to just be patient, do it little by little. But there's going to be a thick banana. It's going to be like a pretty thick lure versus width. But that's fine to me because it's going to be topwater. And you're going to have a very bulky object. But, you know, it's still going to be... it's still going to look real good. And then when I'm carving, I always look often, make sure everything's looking symmetrical every which way. Alright, so I got it carved to as much as I felt comfortable with carving it down to. And then, like I said, I like to finish kind of the final form, make it uniform with sandpaper, and it makes the process a lot longer. But just kind of my preference. Oh gosh, what I'd do to have a Dremel that would make everything like a lot easier. Or a belt sander and a scroll saw, that'd be nice. A belt sander, a Dremel tool, all these things would be nice, but we're just using sandpaper and a box cutter to carve. So like legit anybody can like make a fishing lure with some pretty basic tools. You know, and start out pretty cheap. So we're gonna start with 60 grit. I think it's the coarsest I have of sandpaper. And we're just gonna start sanding it down. And then I'll work all the way up to, I think I have the highest that I have is like 180 or 200, so I'll work it up and smooth it down to that final, and then we'll be able to seal this bait and start getting some hardware in. And again, kind of with carving, I'll sand a bit, I'll look everything over, and then I keep sanding and I'll look everything over, make sure get nice symmetry. Alright, so we have this all carved and sanded. So next step of this is we are going to go ahead and, oh no! We're gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna stick a thumbtack in down here, and I'm gonna get this sealed. We're gonna seal this in some polyurethane. And we'll probably do a couple different, dip it a couple different times. We'll dip it, let it dry, sand it down, probably dip it maybe a couple more times. Just want this bait like really sealed well because I'm pretty excited about this. The banana lure. So this is the polyurethane that I've been using. This is fast drying. Clear satin, not a glossy finish. I just dipped it real fast. Sorry I didn't show that. Just wanted it to get it done quickly. And we got it dipped. See, just gonna have it drip dry a little bit here. Alright, so I took, this is all dry, got this polyurethane and sealed. And then I hit it with 120, 180, and then 320. So it's like a satiny silk smoothness. Like when we get our primer base on, it's gonna go on, I think, really, really well. So now what we're gonna do is I'm going to drill some holes where the hook hanger and the wire and the line tie is going to be. So we're going to have a hook back here, and that's also going to help to weight it. So when you have a walking bait, you want the weight towards the back, from my understanding. So we're going to have a hook, a line tie up here, and then a hook in the middle here, and then weight back here. Bulk back here, but then some a little bit forward too. I found that worked really well for me when I did that. So I already have a little bit of a hole going for the back hook hanger, so we're just gonna get after it since I hung it up with that thumbtack. Pretty darn good. And the reason why I sealed this first is like typically I'd do the hanger, like the hardwire, the hangers, and then seal it. But with this, I sealed it just so when I'm drilling and like putting in weight, I figured that it would help prevent some tear outs. And then as well, I will probably dip and seal this again one last time once we have everything in. Alright, and then with walking baits, the line tie is a little bit lower. And I really want this to like sit back here just because I think the stem might get in the way. So I'm going to set it pretty low, but when but then I'm going to take my wire bending pliers, I'm going to bend it up a little bit to kind of like tune it, if you will. So I want it fairly low, and I'm actually going to give myself a little bit of a starter hole, just so I'm getting it centered. Perfect. And since this is basswood, this could be super buoyant. Alright. And then this isn't a super huge lure, so it really doesn't need that big of hooks. So I'm not too worried if this is a little bit closer. I angled this because, you know, obviously if I just drill straight at it, I'm going to get some poke through. And I want as much of a hook hanger as I possibly can get. Okay. Now we're going to move on. Twist wires. Alright. Got some weight glued in there. I'm only just going to start with this. Just the weight in the back. I'm not going to worry about anything else right now. Holes are drilled. I twisted up some twist wires right here. And we are going to go ahead and fill in this lead hole as well. So we got the good old super glue and baking soda. Alright, I think I got it packed in pretty good. Alright, oh. Not me almost ruining that. So now you just like, this only works with like really fine super glue. But now that is instantly rock hard, fills in all of those voids, and all you have to do is sand over that. So I'm going to let that dry, and while that dries, I'm going to test fit the screw eyes, and we're going to get them glued in. Alright, and actually for the screw eyes, since I'm really liking this bait, I'm actually using 15-minute epoxy. I'm going to epoxy the screw eyes in. Just because I really want those screw eyes to hold in really well. I don't want to have this bait pull out a screw eye on me. So super glue typically works really well. Epoxy will work even better. Alright. And then I put my screw eyes in the order of how they go. So front, middle, back. And I typically will test fit my screw eyes just because I want to make sure these twist wires are absolutely where they need to be. Alright, straight, and I'll wipe off that excess epoxy once I get the others in, because I do have about 15 minutes. So I like to take extra, not too much extra, I mixed up a lot here. I like to take extra, I like to dab it right on the hole. And I like to go in part ways and then take that extra and just keep packing it in there. Just so I'm getting all of that in there. Like I said, we'll get that cleaned up later. Because epoxy is nice to use, I think it doesn't sand that well. That is straight, that's straight, that's straight. It's already starting to get tacky. So, alrighty, this is starting to look like a fishing lure already. So yeah, there's still... Oh my god, now I'm dropping that right in flipping shavings and everything. Gosh, golly. Alright. This is really starting to take shape. This is looking like a banana fishing lure. Doesn't have a ton of curve to it, but that was kind of my goal. I didn't want, you see some bananas that are pretty straight, others are really curved. I kind of wanted the more straight banana just because I think it will lend itself to the functionality of the lure better. But I'm going to let all this dry. Probably actually just going to skip polyurethane it again, but I'm going to let all this dry. I'll sand this down, and then we'll get to painting. Alright, so there's like one thing that this banana is missing. And that's a banana sticker. Alright, so I'm going to try something. I have to attach the sticker. I have this color preserver. I'm going to pour some into the cup. I poured way too much. Alright, I'm going to take this color preserver and get a little dab here on the brush. And put a little dab on there. So I don't have any other sort of glue besides super glue, and I think that'll mess with this. Okay. Yo, that is so cool. And typically, I would air dry this after. That took off a little bit of the ink. If you can see. Just a little bit, but I'm just gonna let that dry. Like so. Oh my god! This is so cool! I'm gonna let that color preserver dry though. Wow, I like way too much. I'm gonna let that dry though, and then we can epoxy this and go fishing. Alright, so I'm mixing up some 30-minute epoxy here. Alright. And I'm mixing it pretty gently because I have, got quite a bit of pot time on it, but I'm just stirring ever so gently just to make sure that I don't get a ton of air bubbles in it. Alright. And then I like using a foam brush to put these on. I have literally no idea, or I do have an idea. I have just always have had better luck using a foam brush and epoxy over anything else. And then what I like to do was once I got it mixed, and you see there's some bubbles in there. So take your hot breath and breathe into it. I like that. Give it some taps too. Try to get as much of those out as you can. And then just let her rip, tater chip. I feel like you can get like a really good even coating down with epoxy. And my evolution of this has gone from 5 to 15 now to 30-minute epoxy. I do want to try some UV cure epoxy. I know a lot of guys use that. But so far, I just got this at a hobby store locally. And so far, it's been working really good for me. I'm so excited for this lure. This is probably some of my best work. Which I just like, it's just so simple and kind of elegant. And I'm not too worried about getting it in the eyelets as of right now, just because I can bust that out later. So that's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna take the air dryer. Let me show you guys a little bit. Take the air dryer, I'm gonna hit it with some hot air. And that's gonna really help get the air bubbles out. Actually, I wanna come back in here with these. Make my life easier. Well, I'm not right up on it with the air dryer. I'm back a little ways. Looking good. There we go. This is probably like the pinnacle of this lure for me. It's just making that little sticker. That's so cool. But this needs to continue to dry. And in 24 hours, when it's fully hardened, we'll go and we'll try to catch fish.